Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect.
Take it, Lexi.
All right. Well, thank you again, Liz, and to Holly
Yeah.
and to Jackie. Thank you, Operation Sisterhood and Cornerstone Family Programs, for putting this event together. My name is Lexi Lopez. I am a NAHREP 10 certified trainer, but I am a regular person, just like you guys. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, an aunt. I'm just here to share some of these disciplines that I've learned in regards to helping me come into a financially better, healthier life. And that's what I'm here to do. Not only am I here as a NAHREP 10 certified trainer, I am a proud board of directors members of the Cornerstone Family Programs. And again, I love the opportunity to be here to serve this community. I love the way that they have multiple programs, including Operation Sisterhood, that other people, other families within the communities can come and help one another out and serve one another. So it is a pleasure for me to be here. I'm honored and I'm blessed. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. But before I do that, welcome Jody, welcome Anna, welcome Luisa, welcome Gina. It's so nice to have you guys here. And before I start the presentation, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for signing up to sacrifice your life to serve our country. That in itself is so courageous. So thank you very much for doing that. All right, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. And also, even though I'm sharing slides, please feel free to stop me. If you guys have something to say, something speaks to you, or you want to share something of your experience, we're all here to learn from one another. This is a safe space. There's a no judgment zone on this, right? And I truly believe, it's one of my personal models that we are responsible to sharing our experiences with others, because that's how we live. That's how we learn. And that's how we share and serve one another. So I wanted to make sure that you guys know that even though I'm sharing slides, this is not just me talking. This is a two-way thing. Okay. So I appreciate comments. I appreciate your own expertise as well and your experience. Let's take advantage that we're here together in this safe space.
And Lexi, I just want to add in, if we want to, are you allowing time at the end for questions and conversation? Because we are recording. So if somebody has something they want to share that they don't necessarily want out there for everybody else to hear, are we allowing time at the end?
Yes, we are.
Absolutely. So what I'll do is I had in mind to kind of stop in between slides, but I don't want you to be pausing and doing that. So I can save all the questions for the end. And then again, just to respect that privacy of things that don't want to be shared or recorded anywhere else. So that's no problem. I can do that.
Thanks, Lexi.
Thanks, Holly. All right, so NAHREP, you must be thinking, well, what the heck does NAHREP mean? So NAHREP stands for the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, which I love saying it as NAHREP because that's just too many words to be sharing. So what NAHREP did was they partnered with the Hispanic Wealth Project, and they came together and said, we need to help equip people with some kind of guidelines to help them, again, be financially stable. We all strive for that, right? A lot of times the finances is what gives us a lot of stress, right? It stresses our marriages, it stresses our own selves. We start thinking and start, let our minds go through about, okay, how am I paying this bill today? Or, oh my gosh, I forgot to do this and my credit cards are all out of whack and it's crazy. I mean, our finances, unfortunately, hold a lot of us stuck in our lives somehow, right? So what they did was they came up with these 10 disciplines. And all of these 10 disciplines have something to do with how it is that you should help structure your life to, again, be financially healthier. A lot of them touch upon finances, but there's other aspects in life that we always need a fresh reminder, about being healthy, about being physically fit, about political values, what an important role we play as citizens when it comes to politics. And of course, reminding us about our family. So these are all the 10 disciplines that we have, but today I'm only going to take advantage of our time to do the first 5. Okay. And like I said, as I share these things, if you want to jot down on paper, if you have it, or if you want to use the chat box, you can certainly, relay information there, and then we can address it at the very end. But please, I want you guys to share as well. Okay. So the first one, have a mature understanding of wealth and prosperity, because the one with most toys usually loses. I'm going to let that sink in a little bit because that's a long one, right? I'll repeat it again. Have a mature understanding of wealth and prosperity because the one with the most toys usually loses. So when I first started learning about these disciplines, and this was the first one that they did, they had us reflect about, okay, what's your personal understanding about wealth? Well, the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, is money, right? But is the things that I have showing that I have money, or what do I have that's helping me to build that money? And that's where the mature understanding comes into play. So financial success, it's kind of like fitness, right? When you guys were going through basic training and you guys are working your bodies out, because you have to be maintained enough to go into battle if they called on you. Maintaining that physical fitness was pretty hard on you, right? It took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of mind. It took a lot of prayer, right? For you to build yourself up to be ready for that. So financial success is the same way. We all know what we should be doing, but are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Are we saving up for the future, or are we saving up day to day? And that's the kind of mentality we kind of want to break out of, right? About just living day by day. We also want to think about, well, what am I leaving for the future? What am I leaving as a legacy? What am I leaving for my children, my grandchildren? Or if you don't have children, your nieces, your nephew, whoever it is that you care for, whoever it is that's your family, what are you doing to help prepare them as well? And what kind of examples are you setting them? Sometimes we make very difficult decisions when it comes to financing, right? So one of the most difficult things that I ever went through in my life was bankruptcy, right? And that's not something that I would pride to share with anyone, right? My family being bankrupt. I mean, it was a very low moment for our family. And a little bit about my family, I'm not going to talk too much about them, but I have 4 daughters. I also support my dad who's living with me now, and I have my husband. So when we came to the point where we were losing our house actually got foreclosed on. That was like the worst, right? The thought about, okay, where am I putting my family? How are my girls going to be okay for them to continue to school, to be with their friends? All of these worries came into play all at once. We actually we wanted to do a short sale, but we ended up foreclosing on that house. And again, it was the most terrible thing to go through. So we had to tap into our other extended family and say, can you help us out? And thankfully, my other family members, they all came together and said, we're going to help you guys out. And they did. But again, thinking about how we got to that point, it's just very irresponsible spending, right? And so that kind of kicked us into the butt to try to be better financially. And I'll share a little bit more about that later on as we talk. But, sometimes also what makes it difficult for us to kind of get into a healthy pathway of saving is delaying gratification, right? We're saying we're saving money, let's just say for a trip, right? We want that trip to happen tomorrow, right? We're all in that mindset, like, oh my gosh, we want to take a vacation. We want to spend some time with our families. We want to go out with our friends, and we want that instant gratification. But we have to get into the mentality of delaying that gratification, right? It's about taking care of ourselves step by step. It's the same thing when you are in a health rut, right? I know for me, these past COVID years, I've gained so much weight. When I went to my physical, my doctor said, hey, Lexi, we need to do something about this. So he kicked my butt and I got into a better, healthier understanding of, what it is that I'm putting into my body and what I shouldn't be putting into my body. And it's the same thing when we think about money. What is it that we're spending? Is it truly things that are truly needed? Or are we putting something away so that we can, take care of something bigger in the near future, such as, buying a house, if that is one of your dreams. So we have to have that mature understanding, right, about what is something that we want to build towards, and again, it's not showing off what we can buy, brand names. Like, if you ask a young person, well, what does wealth mean to you? They're going to say, oh, well, how many luxury cars do you have? Or how big is your house? Or, oh, I got these brand name, I don't know, purses and stuff in my closet, but they're in your closet and it's nice, right? Sometimes, we can treat ourselves, if you can, to something nice. But when you start spending money and you're just spending it to spend it just to gain these things are not helping you grow that money. You want to start investing money into something that's going to grow, so such as real estate or as stocks, for example. All right, so that's discipline number 1. Discipline number 2, be in the top 10% of your profession, because being good is not good enough. I really love this discipline because even though I work in a corporate world, the corporate ladder is really what people always reference to. Now, to me, my aspiration is not to become a president, of a company or anything like that. That's not my dream. That's other people's dreams. But for my dream is, I'm happy in my job where I'm passionate about what I do, that I know that what I do impacts communities, that what I do motivates other people. So those are the things that I look for me to invest my time in, learning to do more of those things. So for you to keep on top of your profession, whatever profession that may be, you have to invest in yourself, which means you have to invest in looking for continued education. YouTube has a lot of videos that I know I've personally seen, but if you're part of LinkedIn, hopefully you are on LinkedIn and you have your resume out there, and you have a professional profile out there for you, so that when the time comes that you are looking for a change in career or a change of job, LinkedIn it's definitely one of those platforms where that can serve that purpose. So what I look for is, within the network of people that I have, looking to see what kind of classes they're taking. Or sometimes I even ask them questions. I'll direct message them and say, hey, I'm curious about this role that you played. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you did to get to that profession or that career? And it takes courage, right, to kind of like ask those kind of questions and put yourself out there. I know for me, growing up in my family, like my dad was very hard on us and basically very strict, and sort of the mentality as to don't speak unless you're spoken to, kind of thing. And that does not jive in the real world, right? You have to use your voice. God gave you your voice for a reason. And so you have to be the one to fend for yourself and ask things for yourself. And so as I started breaking down those kind of barriers that I grew up in my profession, I started to understand and to trust people, and say, hey, I need guidance in this. I want to do X and X. How can I reach that goal? And so mentors, if you don't have a mentor, look to see who would be a perfect fit for you to be mentored by. Mentoring is so important. You learn from that other person. Again, they're there for no judgment. They're just basically there to share their experiences with you, so to help guide to where it is that you want to be at. So again, being in the top 10% of your profession takes time. It takes investing in yourself. It also takes you, looking for career fairs, right? Asking people at different tables, what is it like working at where you work at? But it's you taking the time, doing the research, and finding these opportunities for yourself. And then also taking advantage to see, what other community programs are out there that maybe Operation Sisterhood offers, or Cornerstone Family Programs offer as well. They serve the community. So it's definitely taking advantage of what it is that they offer. The next one, and this one I'll have much more details on, is live below your means, right? Because downturns are a regular part of our economic cycle, and we have to be ready for that next recession. I know for me in 2020, when COVID hit and our businesses started to close up, I work in a real estate franchising business. So real estate actually has done very well. So I've been blessed in that aspect, as far as, my corporate job being available for me to be there to service our real estate agents and brokers. But there were, some periods of time where we had to be put on pause, right? There were some of us that got laid off. There was some of us that, again, were put on pause. And even though we were able to collect a check, it still was a missing piece of our lives, trying to be able to be there, to work. But we had to be ready to live below our means, right? We couldn't be spending money going out to places because a lot of places, shut down, right? So hopefully that kind of got us into a habit about saving some money and truly gave us some time to reflect on, okay, I'm saving this money because I'm not spending it on this. I know for me, I would spend money every day on breakfast, right? Because I just didn't want to bring it from home. And I wanted to use the cafeteria in my building. And I wanted to, just enjoy some other person's breakfast instead of me bringing it, right? But now that we're forced, my job, we're forced to work from home, I have the stuff at my house to make myself breakfast and make some coffee and things like that. So I don't go out and spend that money. But, so how is it that we can live below our means? So here are some key tips and key points that I've learned from other financial experts. The first one is definitely crucial and important, and it's about creating a budget. It's about also tracking your spending, not relying on credit cards, reducing meaningless spending, saving some money from the start, and if you are able to, pick up a second form of income. So how do we create a budget? I'm actually going to share later on. I think I could download in the chat box a form, but if not, then maybe I'll email it to Holly so she can email it to you, Liz, and you can disperse it. But it's an actual form that you can fill out and start practicing about what it is to set that budget, right? It's tracking your spending. So one of the things when my husband and I were going through bankruptcy, the court mandated that we had to take a financial class. We had to learn how to be more responsible with our money. And without that certification, like the judge would not even continue with our case. And so we learned about creating a budget. We learned about what it is that we were spending on. And we realized, wow, these are a lot of things that we didn't have to spend. A lot of it was trying to please our girls, right? We want to please our kids. We want to take our kids out. We want to give them money so they can hang out with friends. There's so many things that we want to do for them. But at some time, we have to tighten up those pockets and say, you know what? Not this time, right? And it's okay to say no to our kids sometimes, they're going to live, that one time that you tell them no, that they can't go out because of this, they're going to go, and you have to kind of explain it. Like, I wouldn't just say, no, you can't do this. Kind of explain and say, listen, we're in a tight spot. And that's another thing that we learned too. My husband and I, we try to safeguard our children, right? And we don't want to let them know that mommy and daddy are going through some financial hardships, right? Because it's not their responsibility. It's not their problem. But we did learn that it's okay to share what we're feeling, because they're going to feel it. Even though we want to try to shelter them from these feelings, they're going to feel it in one way or another. They'll see us stressed. They'll see us sad. They'll see us upset. And they start to wonder, well, why are they acting this way? So what we learned too is trying to be a little bit more open with our daughters and kind of tell them the truth. This is also a learning experience for them. My girls right now are all teenagers. They're 15, 16, 18, and 19. And so now they're at a mature mindset that, they understand what money's about. I have 3 of the 4 working. So now they're getting their own paychecks, and they know, they see their bank account and they can't stand seeing it below $20. Good. This is the way for you to start learning. Okay. This is the way you start saving. So, being open with your family, whoever that support is, being open with them, you have to work together, in order to have that financial freedom together. So definitely tracking your spending. Relying on credit cards, that's just a very quick gratification, a very temporary fix to something that you may need as an emergency, but we can't rely on credit cards, right? Some of the credit cards, if you have fees on them, if you have a high APR percentage on them, it's not doing you any service, right? So try not to rely so much on credit cards. Something that my parents also told me when I started the workforce, they were like, Lexi, you have to have an emergency fund. And it was hard for me at that time, to try to create an emergency fund. Now as an adult, it's still a little hard for me to do that too, to be honest. But it is something that, we have to try our best to do. And again, we can't be relying on credit cards all the time. We have to reduce meaningless spending. Before COVID, oh my gosh, we would try to go to movies almost every weekend. And imagine a family of 6, that becomes very expensive. So it was something that it was meaningless. Although it was nice time spent together as a family, we could have easily just put on a DVD at home or look at something through Netflix, just do something different that we wouldn't have to spend, almost $100 on tickets and food crap that we would get at the movies. But, it's about reducing that kind of spending. And again, if you really set yourself some time to create that budget, you'll look and see what those expenses are and look to see what are those expenses that you don't need in your life. So that's definitely a way to start. Saving from the start, again, I'm going to keep repeating that, you have to try to find a way to save something, even if it's, I don't know, $10, $15, $20 from a paycheck every time that you get a paycheck, and leaving it alone, in a savings account, and you're just forgetting that it even exists. You're just putting things in there. You'll be surprised as how quickly you can try to grow that money, for whatever other purpose it is that you need it for. And then the last one, picking up a second form of income. So again, it all depends on your schedule. I know for me, I tried it in the past, try to make jewelry. It was something that my sister and I did back in the day. Like, we would try to make jewelry and I would sell it to my coworkers, but that only lasted me very temporarily. My sister now, actually, she lives in Georgia, and she has a full-time, 9-to-5 job. But the weekends, she spends it in making crafts, and she sells at local markets and flea markets and things like that. And she's actually making a profit now. She has an Etsy shop, so it worked for her. It didn't work for me, but it worked for her. So definitely look into seeing if, whatever hobby it is that you have, or whatever other extra talent or skill that you have that you think you can make some money out of, look into it, research it, and look to see, what it would take you to start it up, and what you think potentially that could grow into. How do we get ready for the next recession, right? Again, I'm going to keep repeating this word, budget. The budget is so important, because you need to see what those expenses are on a month-to-month basis, right? So it's not only just one time a year or anything like that. You have to reassess your budget on a monthly basis, because expenses change from month to month. You want to make sure that you're contributing more towards that emergency fund, right? You got to cut out that unnecessary expenses. Yes, it's fun to go out, but it can be expensive, right? So, if you lose your job, or God forbid, your car has trouble, you'll always have to try to find how to fund that. And again, not relying on credit cards. You want to try to rely on what cash it is that you have on hand for that. The next thing is, again, focusing on paying off high interest debt accounts. If you have high interest debt accounts, look to see if you could get rid of those debts sooner. And the sooner the better, and not getting back into it, right? That's what you want to try to do. You also want to try to keep up with your usual contributions. Sometimes, we leave these contributions to the end until there's like nothing left, right? So again, like I said, if you want to focus $10, $20, whatever that looks like from your paycheck, and putting it aside, do it right then and there. Don't wait until after you've paid off everything to then see what's left over, because sometimes nothing's left over. I know for me, that was a lot of the times, nothing was left over. And so I wasn't easily saving my money. And something that I already said was, about being the top 10% of your profession. Again, you want to find ways to continue to learn, to continue to build up your skills and put it on your resume, right? You want to show off your skills during meetings to show your employer your value. It's always, again, using that voice and putting yourself out there. That's how, promotions come about. Or when you want to ask for a raise in your salary, you have to show what it is that you're doing to invest in yourself that will be for the benefit of the company or the office that you're working for. So all of these things, they add value to your performance, and that usually means more opportunities for growth and usually more money. Brainstorm innovative ways to make that extra cash, right? So kind of like what I said, using your talents, whether things are heading towards a recession or not, we want to start considering starting a passion project, to bring in a supplemental income, invest time in creating something that you've mastered and maybe could use some passive income. And then of course, directly depositing your side earnings into a savings account for an extra financial cushion. So whatever you make, if you do a side job, making sure that you're not keeping that on hand, you're depositing it somewhere where you want it to continue to grow. The next discipline is minimize debt because it's the biggest enemy to wealth. I'm telling you, again, making that budget. Again, there goes that word, making that budget. And this is a snapshot of what the budget PDF file that I'm going to send over looks like. Again, it's just taking the time. It's being honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself and think about every little thing you spend money on. Again, us females, we spend money on our hair. We spend money on our nails. We spend money on makeup. We spend money on so many things, and all of these things play into our expenses. So you want to make sure that you're being honest with yourself when you're taking the time to fill out this budget worksheet. And how can you reduce your debt? Well, consistently updating your budget and sticking to it. So my husband and I share a worksheet that we look at every month because, again, our expenses change from month to month. And we look to make sure, okay, do we have some money left over to do something special with the family, right? For us, the birthdays of our girls are all in May and in June. And then we have graduations in there. And then we also have confirmation in there. Like there's so many celebrations that we want to, again, celebrate with our families, right? And so what we did was we figured out a way that, okay, we can't celebrate each birthday. We're going to do one celebration where we honor and recognize all of those milestones, right? And I'm sorry that the lights are going crazy behind me. But that's what you got to do. You have to, again, be honest with yourself, keeping up with your budget, and then of course sticking to it. Don't take on any more debt, right? You have enough with what it's on your plate right now. Don't take on any other debt. Do you really need a new car? I don't know. Sometimes we kind of change those things. We get tired of one thing and we want the next new toy, or is it a necessity? If it's a necessity, then you have to do what you have to do, right? But if it's not a necessity, you don't have to get into that kind of debt. Making sure that you're paying your bills, but making sure that you're paying them on time, right? If you need a few more days, it's about picking up the phone sometimes and calling that creditor or calling whoever it is that you owe that money to and saying, can I have an extension? There's some times that they'll go ahead and work with you and say, yes, you know what, we'll extend it. Forbearance has worked as well. But it's about speaking and it's about asking. And that's how you can help yourselves in whatever situation it is that you have. Checking your bills carefully, right? I know another thing that we learned in our financial class when we were going through the bankruptcy was looking at our bank statements, looking to see, is it truly your accounts that are being paid or did somebody hack into you? I had my identity stolen maybe about 15 years ago. And I was shocked. I was surprised. And I didn't do any online shopping or anything like that. But somehow they got a hold of my checking account number and paid their $300 and something cell phone bill out in Chicago. And I'm like, what's going on here? But again, if you don't look at your statements, you can't catch these kind of things. So you want to make sure that you're taking the time on a month-to-month basis and looking to see, okay, what money's going in, right? Because you want to track to see what your deposits look like. But you also want to track and see what money is going out, and is it truly my bill that I'm paying this money for? You don't want to suffer and go through that identity theft. And as I mentioned before, it's about paying off your high interest debts first, right? You want to get rid of that higher debt that you have first, and then focus on the rest of the items that you have. And then reducing the number of credit cards you have. Think about, maybe even consolidating your debts as well. And looking at those credit cards. Do you really need a credit card for, I don't know, Foot Locker? Do you need a credit card for TJ Maxx? Sometimes you don't. You really don't. Even though those are things, again, that we want to gratify ourselves sometimes, because sometimes we work so hard, we earn these things. But you're not doing yourself any service if you keep charging up these credit cards. You're owing more people more money, right? It's taking out of your pockets. It's not anything that's putting into your pockets. That's the way to think of it. All right. So speaking of credit, again, your credit is one of the most important things to watch when we're talking about having that financial freedom, right? It's about paying your bills on time. Not paying your bills on time consistently can make your credit look bad, and not to mention the late fees and the interest charges. Again, more money coming out of your pockets. You want to minimize that. You don't want to keep paying this bank all this other money that you're working hard to try to keep, right? Monitoring your credit report. I know I use Chase Bank, and so I know I use Credit Journey that's on my app. And I get to see on a month-to-month, because again, I want to track to make sure that I'm building up my credit, right? Because now I lost my credit because of bankruptcy, and that's going to be on my account for 7 years. I'm working really hard to see how I can continue to build that credit. Again, there are some other companies that offer you free credit monitoring service, but look to see what your bank offers. They may already have it for free for you. So guarding your Social Security, how many of you actually know your Social Security by heart? Hopefully you do, because you probably had a bunch of applications and forms to fill it out so far, right? But hopefully you do. And just know that you shouldn't carry your Social Security card in your wallet or on you. Never email it either. Guard it as one of your most precious things that you'll ever own, right? You don't want that being getting into somebody's hands that shouldn't have it. And then again, beware of identity theft. Identity theft can be very ugly. It can haunt you for a long time. Thankfully for me, at that time, the bank that I worked with, they were very quick to say, no problem, we'll take care of this, and this is not owed by you, so they were able to change my accounts very quickly, and just secure my account even that much more further, in enhancing that security. So making sure, that you are monitoring your credit, looking at your statements, and just making sure that it's truly your accounts that are being affected, and not anybody else's. All right, and now we've come to our fifth discipline for today, and it's invest at least 20% of your income in real estate and stocks, because they are the best and safest ways to build wealth. And, investing in other businesses do not count, but real estate and stocks is really what's going to help you build that money. So the way that we started, our conversation today was about, well, what is it that we have that's helping to grow our money? Not take away our money, but helping to grow our money. And sometimes, and I'll be honest with this, getting into real estate can be hard. It's going to take a lot of financial discipline to help you save that money that you need as a down payment, but you have to talk to the experts, talk to your financial institution, have somebody, sit down and make an appointment and say, I want somebody to review my expenses and what areas it is that you feel that I need to work on. Okay. As I said in the beginning, I'm not a financial expert, but I've gone through hardships. I've gone through that bankruptcy, that I've learned all of these things. So when I heard about the NAHREP 10 disciplines, it truly spoke to me at that time in my life. And I thought it was just so important to just continue to learn about it, that I became the certified trainer, which is why I'm here today to teach about these disciplines. And I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not. Okay. But it takes discipline, which you guys know all about, right? And, it takes the time. You have to invest the time in yourself to sit down and say, okay, I want to work on this. This is what I want. This is the goals that I want to achieve. And, who do I reach out to help? Again, reaching out to your financial institution, booking some time with an expert there at that bank, at that institution can help you start that conversation and help you set your ways into a healthier financial lifestyle. So for this particular discipline, I am going to leave it to the expert. His name is Gary Acosta. He is the co-founder of the NAHREP Association, and he is one of our leaders. I respect him highly for everything that he offers, but real estate is his passion. Real estate is what he lives and breathes. And so with that, I am going to go ahead and play a video. It's about 5 minutes, but he truly has some valuable information and tips in regards to real estate investment and stocks. So here we go.
Once again, the NAHREP 10. Principle number 5. Invest at least 20% of your income in real estate and stocks because they are the best and safest ways to build wealth.
Sorry about that.
And investing in businesses does not count.
So sorry about that. Okay, starting it.
Once again, the NAHREP 10. Principle number 5. Invest at least 20% of your income in real estate and stocks because they are the best and safest ways to build wealth. And investing in businesses does not count. Now, the last part was specifically addressing the issue with respect to the Latino community. We tend to be pretty good investors, pretty good savers, but the things that we invest in are sometimes a little risky, like businesses. Now, when we invest in businesses, we don't tend to invest in blue chips. We tend to invest in our cousin's new limousine business or the new taco shop that your father wants to start up and so forth. These are not necessarily bad things, but they're very risky. People who invest in businesses that have the expertise to invest in businesses will tell you they typically have to look at almost 300 companies before they find one that they're willing to invest into. If that's not your business, then you don't have the time to look at 300 companies in order to make a good choice. You're taking on too much risk, right? You want to take care of the health and prosperity of your family first. Real estate and stocks are great. If you're going to invest in the stock market, do your research, learn. Forget money managers. You can do it on your own. In the beginning, invest in index stocks. You're investing in all stocks, and stocks over time almost always go up. And when they go down by 2, 3, 4, 5%. So it's a pretty safe investment. This is what Warren Buffett does. I've acquired a really terrific mentor during this process. His name is Foster Stanback. Foster is a prolific investor, one of the most prolific in the country. He also happens to be married to a Latina. So when a mutual friend of ours talked to him about the Hispanic Wealth Project that we were launching, he wanted to help out. I got to spend 2 days with this gentleman, and he shared with me his disciplines about investments. Do you know that there are stocks in the stock market that have paid dividends over the last 30 or 40 years? These are the types of stocks that people like Foster invest in. We need to learn the disciplines to build wealth over the long run. Forget get-rich-quick schemes. There are people, and we're going to hear the stories about people who invest in certain stocks, penny stocks, high-risk, high-yield stocks that are going to beat the stock market. The stock market can't be beat. Sure, there's some people who have done it. There are some people who have won lottos, right? That doesn't mean that that's the best way to invest your money. You want to invest your money in things that are almost guaranteed to grow over time. Real estate and stocks are the best. Learn how to do it smartly and intelligently. There's data out there that shows during the housing and economic crisis, Hispanics were hit harder than any other segment of our population. We lost almost 2/3 of our household wealth during that period of time. And the primary reason that that happened was because we weren't diversified. Some of us owned our own homes, so we had real estate. Some of us had businesses, but almost none of us had stocks. In fact, Hispanics invest in things like 401ks and the stock market at a lower percentage than other segments of the population, regardless of income. Even Hispanics that are earning $100,000, $200,000 and more tend to shy away from that. I think it's cultural. I think we like to invest in things that are tangible, things that we touch, things that we understand. The stock market has not been something that we've understood well over time. This has to change. You have to understand the way our financial systems work, the way our tax system works. The 401k process or program is unbelievable. The federal government actually creates a system where we can invest without paying taxes over time, right? This is remarkable, and so many of us do not take advantage of that. That has to change. NAHREP is going to start by setting the example amongst our members. We're going to invest both in real estate, but in the stock market, especially in 401ks and in retirement accounts. We want to mastermind around these things as well. You know, I think we do a good job sharing best practices around how to build better businesses, how to generate more income, how to be more productive, and so forth. We need to start forming mastermind groups where we're sharing best practices around investing, about investing in the stock market, about building wealth over time. We're going to see these disciplines change NAHREP and change the Latino community over time. Well, 20% is not, again, a magic number. It is a number that I think is large enough that if you do the math, will guarantee that you'll be able to live at a lifestyle that is comparable to what you live today when you're in your retirement. And that's how the math plays out. You have to be successful, again, to earn enough to create a surplus. And then you have to do smart by investing that surplus in things that are likely to grow over time, such as real estate and the stock market. So that's why investing 20% of your income in stocks and real estate is principle number 5 of the NAHREP 10. We're halfway there.
All right, so from Mr. Acosta, what he was sharing, you know, so I know for me, my job offers a 401k, and you know, my parents kind of told me about it when I first started my job, and I've been at my job for 25 years. I started when I was 19, and I didn't listen to them. I didn't listen to them until I started forming my own family. And not until like my late 20s, that's when I started investing in a 401k. And I wish I had done it since I was 19. So if you guys do have that opportunity, you know, if your job offers you a 401k and you have not invested in it yet, get invested in that, because that's going to help you, you know, for your retirement stages, right? Where you can, you know, allot a certain percentage from your paychecks to help you grow that investment. You know, my father also, he recently retired 2 years ago when COVID hit. He retired, and you know, I helped him, you know, secure his retirement payments and things like that. And I had no idea about how very well versed he was in stock markets. He never shared it with us. He never shared it with any of his kids about stock markets, you know, and you know, it's something for me that for my 401k, I have it involved with 2 stocks, where I get to monitor again month to month how it's growing, or sometimes even when it decreases. But again, you have to be aware of these things, and you have to monitor, you know, it's all about monitoring the information that you have in front of you. But anyway, so, you know, just again, one of the 2 of the smartest ways for investing is, again, in real estate, and it is in stock. So in closing, you know, I want to make sure that, you know, we are on track in understanding what it is that we want to accomplish. Obviously, we want to accomplish financial freedom. You know, we can't, unfortunately, we can't blame the economy all the time, the government or the recession. We are the ones that have that power and that control over our own financial wealth and our financial health. And we have the opportunities to be able to access information in regards to it. You know, don't be shy about reaching out again to your financial institution for more guidance, or looking online to see what you can learn. Maybe sometimes there's like online seminars, you know, being offered, and they're free. You know, a lot of the community colleges, you know, they offer free seminars, you know, in about budgeting and about financial success, you know, especially for our college students. But we're all more than welcome to attend those type of seminars. Morristown usually has a lot of, you know, community things happening at the library. You know, it's about just being informed and looking for those resources, you know, because they are out there. All right, so that is the end of my first 5 disciplines, and I do have an assignment, and I'm hoping that you guys will join me on the next session, which is April 23rd. And what I'm asking for is, see if you guys can email me family pictures. It will be internal purposes only, not shared anywhere else. This is for me and for our next session. If you wouldn't mind jotting down my email address. That's my personal email address. And I kindly ask if you do want to participate to kind of submit your pictures by April 20th. So that way I have enough time to prepare it for our presentation session the next time we meet again, which is the 23rd. I would really, really appreciate it. I just want to say again, thank you to Operation Sisterhood and to Cornerstone Family Programs for having me here today. Like I said, I am excited to see you the next time where we can finish all 10 of the disciplines. And I do have some other fun exercises to do for the next 5 that we want to talk about. But I will see you guys next Saturday, or the 23rd, I should say, from 12 to 1. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that way I can see you guys again. Oh, there you guys are.